Good evening, everybody. This is Chris from Country Boy Cryptids, and tonight we have a special guest, Shane Michael Crisp of West Coast Dogman Project. How you doing, Shane?
I'm doing great, brother. I'm truly honored to be on your show. Thanks for thinking of me and having me on.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, the pleasure is mine. I just like I say, I'm super stoked to be on your show and the things that you've done, Chris, is with Country Boy Cryptid in just a short amount of time, from going from a Facebook group to now you're podcasting, incredible guests on. I watched Tom Cardos's interview the other day, and man, that guy he is very knowledgeable. And
He
so are
is.
you. You know your stuff.
I know a little bit, but man, Tom's really good at this stuff.
Yeah, Tom's out there in North Carolina. I know he's had several, or was it like 2 or 3 Sasquatch experiences or encounters
yeah,
up in
yeah.
Canada and out in the woods. I mean, he's a hunter too. So, and I think he saw some stuff in New Jersey. I know him and his wife live down there in North Carolina now. And hey, he's in cryptid country. And so are you out there. Where are you from? You're in West Virginia, right?
Yeah, I'm in Morgantown, if you know where that's at.
Not too familiar with.
Uh,
I'm on the West Coast, so I'm not too
oh
familiar
yeah,
with it. I know my
yeah.
states, but towns, unless it's a big city, I don't really know too much of. Along the Appalachia.
Yeah. Well, tell us how you got started in this, Shane, and what
Okay.
all you do, because I know you do a lot of different stuff.
I've created a bunch. I've dove way into this. I think a little farther than I should have, but I've always been a Sasquatch believer ever since I was a kid. The Loch Ness monster, the UFOs, but I never really ever thought of it. I'd see it on TV to be really compelling. Like, ooh, let's see finding Bigfoot. Let's see if they actually catch a Bigfoot. You might catch a footprint here and there, but I just never really interested me to actually dive into the research wise. And it was about a year and a half ago, my buddy Andrew, who I worked with at the time, was like, hey, man, I really want to see a Bigfoot. I was like, oh, that'd be really cool to go see a Bigfoot. And he's like, hey, there's this thing called the Dogman. And I started laughing at the name. I'm like, you really think werewolves are real? It just made my mind, it just made me laugh. And I was like, dude, there's no way. He's like, no, hear me out. Listen to Dogman Encounters with me. So I start listening to a few, and I'm like, okay, these people are just making up a good 5-minute creepy pasta story. But then there were some really good ones on there that you can hear the trembling in their voice and how they're having PTSD sleeping from seeing these things. And that's what got me into it, and I started diving more and more into it. So then I started getting on Google and trying to look for pictures of the Dogman, and all you get are these Pinterest werewolf pictures and paintings, and you don't really see any decent photos, unlike what we have in the Sasquatch community with the Patterson Gimlin film and some other really good compelling photos that are out there. And so I started just researching Facebook and looking around, but then I came across Kentucky Dogman Project with Paul Chafin, and he threw up some really good photos out there. And I was like, man, you can claim that they're pareidolia or that it's just pixelations, whatever it is, but his photos compelled me enough to want to say, hey, there's something in that photo. And so I jumped in and I started asking Paul question after question, befriended him, and he took me under his wing, and same with my buddy David, and they brought me up to speed and like what to look for in certain things. And I started going out into the tree lines and deep in the woods and taking pictures and circling things I had seen. But I started getting more into it, and then that's the cryptid community. Is you're going to have the people that are going to say pareidolia, and then you have the some that say, I see what you're seeing. So, and I'm like, okay. And then I started kind of siding with both. And the thing is, with the circle photos, I can clearly see something there. But what gets me is the background. Is it now? What did I hear anything? Was the wood silent? Did you see it? Did you smell it? Did you see any physical evidence? So I took my research from taking the pictures and going towards the physical evidence side of it. And that's why I joined the NADP to, further my research and go about from there. And, I've got a small little group called West Coast Dogman Project, but I was like, hey, I had a bunch of other people that would post cryptid related stuff. And I was like, I really like that because I love Sasquatch. I love Gugway. I love skinwalkers, So I just got the bright idea of you want the West Coast stuff, UF project. I mean, I did 6 different pages just so it would be almost uniform with what people are looking for. And These
Yeah,
pages aren't real big. I mean, my West Coast page just got over 1,000 members, and that was such an awesome thing. I was like, man, we finally hit the 1K mark. I have awesome admins, awesome moderators, awesome people a part of it that we're just trying to circulate the Dogman phenomenon. And then I also have other awesome admins and every other pages to help them grow. And it's not about this for views. It's not about this for likes. It's about getting the cryptid that's the subject of interest out there and circulating the name, like the YouTube channels that people do podcasts on, or go out into the boots and do boots on the ground research. That's what I'm trying to just share. If you have an encounter, hey, I want to hear it, because I also do podcasting and I interview Dogman eyewitnesses, and a lot of people have told me, why don't you branch out doing Sasquatch and all that? I'm like, well, there's a lot of other podcasts, but my main interest is interviewing Dogman eyewitnesses, so that's what I've been doing as of right now. So, and sum it up just a little bit. Back in October, the Region 1 director for the NADP decided to step down to be a field investigator because she's heavily involved with MUFON. Her name's Dev Rooney, but she nominated me, and Jody said, hey, yeah, let's bring him on. So now I'm the NADP Region 1 director, and currently just trying to appoint state directors out here in the West. Also looking for field investigators, and as the phenomenon continues to grow, just to try to assemble a team in each state. So yeah, I think we're getting farther in the Dogman phenomenon, and I feel really good about 2023 and 2024.
yeah, no doubt. I noticed that there's been a lot of sightings here lately. I mean, all from going like your page and stuff. There's been a
Yeah,
lot of sightings here. It's getting really big.
well, you're living the prime country. From what the NADP's database has shown, is that the sightings are coming from Pennsylvania, Maine, along the Appalachia Trail, and all the way down into the South. So that's where a lot of the most activity is. And I do believe there is sightings all throughout the United States, but I just don't think people would know where to go to report them. And if I went to you, Chris, and they say you weren't a cryptid believer, and I told you, dude, I saw a thing that was biped, it looked like a wolf, it looked like a werewolf, you would think I'd be crazy. So people keep their encounters hush hush in fear of ridicule. And that's my whole thing, is to spread awareness and try to be a place like having the NADP on our side and going and telling your encounter. And like you said, the people are now, I think, okay with it being 2023, that hey, 20 years ago you would have been butchered alive, thinking that you're crazy,
Yeah,
and prescribed
yeah.
some subscription psychotic, or he's like, dude, you're crazy, take this medication. But I mean, the government's now releasing more and more evidence of UFOs every day.
Oh
So
yeah.
the declassified stuff, Bigfoot, they're starting to release a little bit more on. Dogman, I don't believe, is far behind. My personal thing is Dogman has taken over the phenomenon, as in popularity, into people wanting to look more into it, because there's already so much stuff on the Sasquatch. If you look, we have the Patterson Gimlin film, we've got hair samples, we've got footprints. Dogman, we really don't have a whole lot. It's still in its infancy. I think we've got some really good photos out there. But I think some people don't want to share the photos. I think there is the $1 million photo out there. It's just they don't want the ridicule or the hate and all that. I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to do that either. But I've seen some really compelling Sasquatch stuff from a good friend, Jeremiah Fountain. You probably talked to him. He's got some good stuff that he shared with me, and I promised him I would never share it, and I still keep my word that I've never shared it. I've shown my wife,
Right.
but Mike, you don't get to save it. It's on my phone. So, but
Right.
yeah, I do believe in our cryptid research. I think as a community, the Dogman phenomenon will continue to grow, and we will be getting more sightings and more, encounters. And I think that we'll get that footage. But for every good photo you get, there's going to be 4 or 5 fake ones. I've noticed, like the whole, the Gable film, for example. That one, a lot of people were swearing up and down that was a Dogman, and then the guy went on Monster Quest and said, hey, it was fake. I've never seen a guy in a ghillie suit move like that. It's maybe was he silenced? Was he hush hush? I don't know. I do believe it was obviously fake, but was it set up to be a fake? There's so many rabbit holes you can go down with all this stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, some of the pictures that people's put on your West Coast Dogman Project page, they look really good. Some of them are like, you can really see it. You know what I mean? You can see
yeah,
the ears, you can see the face.
You really can, and those are the photos. That's what I always ask people. If you post something, and if 20 people can see it, and you get that one negative comment, hey, just scroll past. Why put
Right?
up a negative comment and say, oh, it's just pareidolia? Okay, claim why it's pareidolia. That's why I just wanted West Coast to be a safe haven for people to just go share their research, and that's what, because that, like I said, that's what made me a believer. And
Yeah.
Paul's got some of the best photos out there. I've got some really decent ones that I don't claim that are Dogman, but you can clearly see a snout, maybe some ears and some eyes. But that's where I've got to be 50-50, because I've got to respect the people that are going to be the naysayers, and then you got to respect the people that 50% see it. So it's just a revolving door with the community. A good buddy of mine told me you can have the clearest photo of a dog man holding a sign saying I am a dog man, and the community is still going to say it's a hoax and rip it apart, say it's a dude in a costume. So it's really, at the end of the day, you do this for the love of the research and the cryptid. At the end of the day, that's what I do, and I know that's what you do as well.
Yeah.
We're not out here trying to get rich off this thing, because you can't get rich in this community.
That's for sure.
Unless you're on Finding Bigfoot and you can be like Bobo or one of those guys who they make money off A&E or history. They might get that little check, but hey, if it's popular, I mean, that's what the thing is if you can make money off something and you enjoy doing it, well, hey, why not keep putting out good content if you're putting out good stuff? Viewership, it circulates the name at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of the interviews I've seen and stuff. Martin Groves, man, his story is amazing.
It's probably one of the best out there.
Yeah.
I'd say top 5. And this is my personal opinion. I think every encounter is truly intriguing. The ones that are really in depth with people like Rusty Coleman Jr. I'm pretty sure you talked to him. That he's former law enforcement. The guy's got a photographic memory. He remembers key details from 1981. He'll tell you. But Martin Groves' encounter, it's every encounter is very good, except for the ones that people are just don't really understand. But then they're having a hard time remembering, and maybe because of they're being frightened and having to relive that again. It's hard,
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think Bitkundiv has really good stuff on his. There's a guy named Ryan who goes on for 2.5 hours talking about the intelligence of this dogman and his encounter when he was a boy, and fighting the crawler. If it's creepypasta, it should be a movie. But if it was a real encounter, that's the one story that made me dive deep into this, was when the female dogman had urinated on his sweater, and then his dad found it in the back of the truck. And I mean, if you have to, it's such a compelling episode, man. I'd have to share it with you and put it on your page.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard that one yet.
Oh, it's good. And supposedly, just to kind of sum it up just a little bit, just give it a little detail, was that the dad or stepdad had killed the mother and the father and buried them on the property. And then the young pup grew up to almost have a vengeance against the stepdad and, the stepson. So it's actually really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Martin Groves, no, it was Joe Barger that was the truck driver. That was up in Michigan, where he shot it with was it a 457 that he had, or
no? He had one of them Smith and Wesson Governors. I think it was a 410 45 long Colt that shoots boat.
Yeah, and that was a really good one. That to me is one of my favorite too. I'd say top 5 as well. But Martin Groves was what was that?
It was very compelling too. I mean, it was a good story.
Yeah.
Or an encounter, I should say.
Yeah, and I know Joe's went on Paranormal Roundtable, or he talked to Barton Nunley and went into key detail on it. I think he talked to Josh Nanokio as well. And yeah, it's really good stuff.
Nighthawk said he got into it last night with a red-eyed, standing upright canine.
Oh, I hope you were safe, Brother Nighthawk. I know he packs though. I know he takes.
Yeah, he packs.
But man, a red eye. So red eye. That's what gets me. Now, do you think it might have been a hellhound? I don't know if hellhounds go by bed. Do they? I've heard very few accounts of hellhounds. A lot of it's mistaken dogman, but I know dogmen really don't get the whole red eyes. I've heard of them, but most of the time their eyes illuminate an orange yellow color, I thought. But Dark Waters also talks about the Dogman eyes varying, and certain Dogmen have been seen with blue eyes, self-illuminating blue eyes. So I don't know. That's another person who I really look up to is Dark Waters and what his content he puts out. People say, "Oh, he just says creepy pastas." I don't know. I think the research that he's put, like when he released Dogman 101, that I think it was a 2-hour video, was so compelling, and it helped bring my research up to speed. Like I was thinking, oh, it's just a Dogman, you know, it just eats carcasses on the side of the road, but no, he's done his research on that.
William said it rained from me, and I heard the rancher out back shooting immediately after.
Oh wow. Nighthawk, I think he's up in you're in Pennsylvania or Virginia, right?
He's in Virginia, yeah. He's in
Oh,
Virginia.
okay. Yeah, I mean, you guys like live right in the prime of the East Coast, you know, is just flooded with so many sightings, all the way down to Mississippi, all the way to Texas. You know, it seems pretty quiet out here in the West. I know Miriam's in the chat. She really wants a Dogman encounter.
I know. She does, doesn't she?
She does. I'm like, I'm the same way. I want a Dogman encounter. People are saying you're crazy if you want to see these things. It's yeah, but if we want to see it with our own two eyes to prove the existence that these things are real, that's my whole thing. I'd love to have a safe encounter where I'm 60 yards away or I'm looking at it through binoculars. But yeah,
right.
I don't blame Miriam. She's fearless. She wants to see the Dogman. I'm fearless. I want to see the Dogman. I want to see a Dogman with my wife to prove to her, hey, these things exist.
Yeah, right.
She's skeptical a little bit, but she enjoys it because she knows I get enjoyment out of it. And I have an awesome wife. She's my research partner, and I couldn't thank her enough. You know.
Yeah, that's for sure. She seems really nice. You know, I see her. She's friends on my page there.
Oh yeah. She's
always putting pictures of the kid. You know, your young one on there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's very, very sweet. She accepts a lot of my friends on, in the cryptid community, and she's such a sweetheart, and I love her to death. I'm like, I got lucky with her. First of all, she lets me believe in cryptids. Get the tinfoil out.
Right now, the old lady, she believes in the paranormal and stuff, and she's actually had an experience, and not an encounter, an experience where her and another girl and that girl's boyfriend went fishing up down here. There's a place called Taggart Lake.
Oh wow, okay.
And they decided to go swimming. You know, they said there was no one else in the campground that night. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
They was by themselves. And they went down to swim, and she said someone started throwing rocks at them. And she was like, they yelled, "Hey, quit throwing rocks," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she said after that, they went back up to the tent, and the boyfriend went off to go get them firewood, so they could start a fire.
Mm-hmm.
And they was in the tent, and they said they could hear something walking around, like a person walking around the tent. So they thought it was him joking, you know what I mean, and playing around, just acting stupid. And she said when he come back, they yelled at him, "Quit scaring us." He said, "I was getting firewood. I ain't even been close to the tent."
Uh-huh.
So it could have been a Bigfoot, because
I mean, everything sounds like Bigfoot. I mean, stomping around. They don't go right to the tent. They kind of walk the perimeter of the tree line. The throwing of the rocks. That screams Sasquatch right there, or Bigfoot. I mean, I guess everybody calls it different. It's all the same thing. I had a buddy say it was a Chiatonka. I'm like, I don't want to spell Chiatonka. It's kind of hard to write and memorize, let alone Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So, but
and she, well, down there's a thing called the Grafton Monster too.
Oh, I've heard of that on that show from the
Mountain
guys
Monsters.
in the South.
Yeah, Mountain Monsters. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a true story. I mean, you can look up Grafton, West Virginia, and it'll tell about it.
Yeah, but they went and they actually got a good photo from that. I think it was on the show that they showed it. It looked pretty compelling, like a giant almost. It was like 16 feet high or something like that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys probably get a lot of Sasquatch up over in your area.
I don't know, because like I said, this guy didn't. I've always, all my life, I believed in Bigfoot. I never did think it. Ever since growing up, the first thing I seen, I was born in '74.
Mhm.
So my first introduction to it was the Patty film,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's no way you can't tell me that's a real Bigfoot. I mean, after M.K. Davis broke it down and showed the muscle and stuff, it's like this is
Yeah.
real.
No human can walk in a suit like that, and especially in the 1967 or 1968, they didn't
Yeah.
have the technology then where we could probably try to now. But there's been so many other released videos of these things literally clearing 5 to 10 feet strides. Yeah, someone, and for the people that make the threats against them in the past, it's just like uh, it's hard to but it's the most compelling photo. And then when they last year they cleaned up that photo, and then they did the video frame by frame, and you can clearly see the breast on the patty,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
and you see the facial definition. It's yeah, it's hard to hoax it, but you get the people that say, "Oh, why are there two cowboys riding deep out into the woods with an 8mm camera? This had to have been staged." It's like, maybe because back then we didn't have camcorders, and maybe they put it
Yeah.
in their saddlebag and they're just out just riding and they come across it. That's where you're going to see a Sasquatch is deep in the woods. They're not coming out to the city. And, there's been reports they do come to the city. And same with Dogmen. I've been seen going through trash cans and stuff. But, it's what's happened now since 1967 is we've invaded a lot of their turf by going in, tearing down forests and urbanizing these areas. They don't have a whole lot to stay safe under, that they're venturing out. And I just don't think they're really scared of humans anymore, really.
No, no. I think you're right there. I think they, you know, what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? I'm 9 feet tall. I can rip you in half. I can. You look at
Right.
the Jack League's beef jerky commercials, and that thing throws the guy. I can only imagine something with that sheer strength.
Oh yeah.
Throwing a 200-pound person, probably like a basketball or a baseball.
I mean, just think of the dog man. That is the ultimate killing machine.
I think so too. But
I mean,
there's a couple groups out there that will post and say Dogman versus Bigfoot, and it's like if they were to get in a fight, and I believe that there is fights because both of them are
yeah,
very territorial. Use the LBL for example. The south side of the LBL is all Sasquatch, and then when you go to the north side, it's completely dead and just Dogman turf. So obviously these things are territorial, and I do believe they do have battles deep in the woods, but over territorial issues. But like you said, the Dogman is a killing machine. Something with a human body, razor sharp claws, hands like a raccoon or a human. If they have the digitigrade leg structure, they got speed, and they have canines that can just rip flesh. I look at Sasquatch not being as fast, but just catching it, putting it in a headlock, and then snapping its neck. I mean, it's just how fast. And I don't believe dogmen fight one-on-one with the Sasquatch if that comes down to. I think of it if it's a canine in type species that they hunt in a pack, just like
yeah,
Sasquatch have been known to hunt in packs. So
yeah.
really, unless they're out, that Sasquatch is outnumbered, especially a juvenile, then I believe the dogman wins 100% of the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we know Bigfoot, a clan. They run in clans.
Oh yeah.
And a wolf is any dog is a pack animal.
Oh,
So any
guaranteed.
canine. So there's more than one. But
Yeah,
yeah,
a good buddy of mine who I went and did. Yeah, so we went down to. So there was a gentleman that had gone to Jeff Nadolny's show and in Southern California, saying he's seen a bunch of dogmen and that they're devastating the area. And so this gentleman got in contact with Daryl Denton, and Daryl reached out to me and said, "Hey, I know you're out in California. Would you be able to get a team together and go down and help this guy out?" His guy's calling him in the middle of the night, and he sounds frightened. So I got with my good buddy. His name's Javi. He's Cryptid 559, and my wife, and we went down to Riverside, California, and we checked the area out. We investigated. Not to say he didn't see dogmen there. I just don't think it was 100 dogmen, because the whole wildlife would be decimated. There would be no deers, no rabbits, no anything. It could have been possibly 1 to 2 dogmen, maybe in the area. We tried interviewing the homeless that he was reporting that were going missing, and some of the homeless down there said they had seen some weird stuff that's crazy, but a lot of the other homeless just didn't want to talk. And I respected that, because I always respect people's privacy. And, it's hard to go on camera to talk about something that's so tinfoil. But And so we checked out some other preserves and areas, and we found a couple bones. But I mean, it's really hard to. You almost have to disbelieve to believe. You know, that bone could have just been a lamb bone that maybe a fox or something got and killed a small rabbit. It was just a hip bone or something. You know. Other than that, we kind of assumed that we didn't find any physical evidence of it. But I stayed in contact with the gentleman, and on our drive back home, Hobby had told me, or Cryptid 559 had told me that, you know, he does all types of research in the paranormal and cryptid field, that he talked to a good buddy of his who's a park ranger out here in California, and that there's a certain area up north, I want to say north of Shaver Lake, or it might have been Lake Tahoe, that 3 times a year or 2 times a year that there's 3 clans of Sasquatch that congregate on this one area, and that this park ranger's job, and him and a team of them are to hike in there, and they have to monitor them. They just check on them. They don't disclose the location, you know, out of, you know, respect for the Sasquatch, but they congregate 2 to 3 times a year. I don't know if that's, it was just compelling. He said he wouldn't release any more information, but he said that he had told me about that. And I was like, wow, that is, you know, the park rangers and the national parks are in on this. They have to say hush, hush, because at the end of the day, it comes down to money. If I told you, Chris, hey, if you're going out camping in the national forest out in West Virginia, and but there's Dogman out there, don't, just be careful. You're not going to take your kids out there in fear of being shredded apart. No, that's why they stay hush hush about it, and they have these 3-letter agencies that if they become a threat, they go and clear them out, and then hey, keep the national parks open, because it's all about money at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, that's I believe that 100%. Mm-hmm. Now we have had someone posted online a map, and I forget who it was now. It's been a while. But there was a Dogman sighting, probably like, it's called Cheat Lake. It's a big man-made lake, and it's got we call it rails to trails, where the people can jog and walk their dogs all the way around the lake.
Yeah.
And on the way to the lake, someone spotted a Dogman crossing the road. It went over the guardrail and went down in this little valley. And that was in 2019.
So just recent then.
Yeah, man, I wish I could remember the name of the map. I can't find it now.
That's interesting. I know what we have in our archives at the North American Dogman Project is, I don't think it's been updated in a couple years, but we have tons of sightings throughout the whole United States of people's encounters from 15, 20, 30 years ago to just about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I do believe we have a lot more that are sitting that need to be uploaded into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Hi. She's something else.
She's adorable.
Yeah, I'm sitting with 2 of them until Mommy's at the hospital with the other one. So.
Yeah, how's she doing? Is she doing better?
She just messaged me a little bit ago. She had like 6 nosebleeds.
Oh wow.
And she started, and she was starting up, you know, from the blood draining down.
Yeah.
It might be her sinuses drying out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's that time of the year too. It's just everyone. My son stayed home today because he had a sore throat. So it's, you know, when you get sick, you get sick. It's that time of the year. So.
Yeah, I know these kids have been sick one and all. I swear, I homeschooled for 2. Well, when COVID started, we started homeschooling, and then they just went back to school this year.
Oh, just this year, huh?
Yeah. Wow. So, and as soon as they go back to school, it lasted a couple of months. Now it's sick.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, not to get political or anything like that. It's just like, I just feel like we should have never shut down, because I said the little kids that missed 2 years of school, you know, interaction, it was kind of hard. But then it's like a kid that started kindergarten and you now all of a sudden start in 2nd, 3rd grade. It's like you missed out on so much stuff. The interaction, just being a kid. It's unfortunate, but I'm glad that everybody's opened back up and 100%, and we're going back to normal. It's just normal day living.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, what is your thought on that? You know, I had talked to a couple good, really good cryptid researchers, and they kind of filled my head in on this, and it made me really think about it. Sightings, you know, these cryptids, Dogman, Sasquatch, you know, they stay in the woods for, you know, they don't want to be seen, and they want to just be left alone kind of thing. But when COVID had hit, people were locked down and couldn't go out. They shut the national parks down. These things started creeping out a little farther. And then you start seeing them walking down the alleyways, opening up trash cans or just near residential homes and stuff. And I don't think it ever, in the beginning, never stopped. But I just feel like it increased more because they were just wondering, hey, where are all these people at? It kind of opened up my mind to that theory that I think COVID did let these things venture out a little bit farther because the human activity kind of dwindled down in the national parks. So,
I'm with you on that. I mean, it makes total sense.
Yeah, I'm not to say that they were wrong. That was told to me, and I was like, oh, I never even thought of it like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like if you're playing hide and go seek, for example, and the person that's it is trying to look for you, you're going to stay hidden. But then after 15, 20 minutes, you don't hear them. Well, you're going to be like, okay, well, where are they at? You're going to start peeking out a little bit to kind of see where's the secret at, And my buddy Carlito actually had a really good experience with that, or not a good experience, but he had a Bigfoot encounter when he was a kid. Him and his buddies were going to hide and go seek. And so he ran out into the woods, hid for 15, 20 minutes. And he said he smelled a real musky smell. And he felt like someone was watching him. And then when he went back to his house, he's like, hey, where are you guys at? Weren't you guys just behind me? Like, dude, we've been up here. We gave up on you. We couldn't find you. So that's a Sasquatch. He said it smelled like garbage. It just real musky smell. So,
yeah. Miriam's got a question. What do you guys think about all the recent reports of Dogman in Yellowstone?
Well, that's a good one. I see a lot of the stuff. My whole thing is with what I'm seeing on YouTube, with these AI generated apps, and you've got certain podcasters or streamers that will put together a 5 to 10 minute video, write up a real good creepypasta story, throw a park ranger in front of a AI generated cryptid and say all these stories are coming out of Yellowstone. It's hard to tell which ones are real and which ones aren't. But like Miriam said, I do believe there is a sighting increase in the Yellowstone. I believe there's a sighting increase in a lot of national parks. But this is my personal opinion on the ones that I do see. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to. I do listen to them to try to check for verification, and it's also really good content too. It's hard to tell, but like I was saying earlier, for every really good Dogman encounter that's going to be that is really legit, you're going to have 5 or 6 that are going to be hoaxed and made up as creepypasta or mixed with other encounters to make it for viewership and for the likes. It's a hard one, Miriam. That's really a hard one for me, but that's just my opinion on it. But I do believe there is an increase in the Yellowstone for sure.
Yeah, I think there's an increase everywhere. I mean, like when I looked at that map, I was like, wow, West Virginia has one there, and then there was one down in the southern part of the state.
Yeah.
But they're in here. I mean, it seems like the Appalachian Mountain Range and down into the LBL is like, it's just like,
it's a hotbed. People go missing. If you match up the missing 411 from David Pilates and the underground cave systems, it's picture, they look identical. And there's a lot of missing 411s up along the Appalachian Trail. And you guys, from what I've read in a lot of reports, is the feral people that live deep into the mountain range. And I listen to it, I'm like, whoa. And then you hear a really good Dogman encounter, and then you hear a really good Sasquatch encounter. People going missing. I don't know, man. There's so many different things with this. And are they all connected? It's hard to say. Big belief of mine is missing 411s. I don't believe it's Dogman going out and killing all these people. I don't believe it's Sasquatch killing all these people.
Nah.
I really, if it's anything, if you want to jump down a red rabbit hole and get your tinfoil out, when wasn't it President Eisenhower in 1957 signed that agreement at he was out in Palm Springs, California, signed an agreement with the Greys, supposedly. And I've seen footage of where the Greys craft land. And in exchange for technology, they get to abduct so many humans a year. So people going out into these national parks, if it's just 1 or 2 random people and they both go missing, what are they getting sucked through portals? Are these ETs abducting them? Or are they dying of just natural causes? And, hypothermia, you start losing it, I mean, there's so many different variations of things. I don't believe it's always cryptid related.
Right. I lost my train of thought.
It's all good.
I was just checking on her.
Yeah. You got to be a dad first, brother. I totally understand that. Cryptids will always be here. That's what my wife had to tell me. Because when I first got in this, I dove head first, and I would be up, up till midnight, sometimes 1 o'clock, just watching podcasts, filling in. I like to say I'm a sponge because I take in all this information and then I just analyze it and just store it away, just so people that might have a question, not to say I'm an expert, because no one's an expert in these fields. We just try to build our knowledge on these things that are unexplained. But there's a certain time where it was taking over my life, and I'd be going to work super just groggy because I'd be studying and looking into this, that it does take a toll on your family. And that's one thing my wife had to sit me down and tell me, hey, there's a time for cryptids and then there's time for family. Family comes first. And I'm like, hey, 100%, I agree. And that's when I had to back off a little bit. But cryptids are my hobby. That's my new hobby, is my horse and cryptids. So
that's why, man. Well, I can't get around to go hunting anymore. So I thought, hey, this is the perfect time. I'm into it anyway. I'm going to start diving deep into it,
Hey, Chris, you've done an amazing job, brother. Just for the short amount of time, when you went live with Country Boy Cryptid, I was like, oh, this is cool, man. And, I try to show nothing but love through the cryptid community and be friends with everybody. And if someone like you that started up just a few months back, I'm going to help that person out and say, hey, this guy, just give him nothing but praise and love, and just, invite a bunch of people to help join these pages and get the phenomenon growing. Another cryptid researcher. That's what we need, is to come together and just help each other out. And you like you said, you started a couple of months ago. I started last year. I had nothing but love sent my way, and I've made so many friends in the cryptid community that it's pretty sad. I tell my wife, I have more friends in the cryptid community than I have my own real friends.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth, though? It is.
It is. I did a shout out to my sister today because it was her birthday. And
I seen that. Yeah. I wish.
And I go through the comments and I'm just scrolling through and I'm just like, my cryptid friends came through for me. They're the ones saying happy birthday. And I'm like, it's just the love and respect for each other that's what I think the cryptid community should be like. And oh man, it's such an awesome film. There's people I've never even met in my life. I've only met one guy, and that was a guy that I went and investigated with in this whole community that I never met in person. But everyone seems so genuine and just down to earth. And that's what makes me love to be a part of the cryptid community, because it's like, I'm not in it for the fame. I'm in this to grow my knowledge and field of, just in the cryptid community. But along the way, I've made so many awesome friends that Chris, you're one of them. Nighthawk, Miriam. Many good people that, and it's also cool that have people like William Nighthawk, who he's been an investigator into the cryptids and the paranormal and with the native stuff and his history that he's explained, that, he's even said, I'm like the older brother. But the new guys like us, he's just gives off his knowledge. And it's just, dude, it's so enlightening to have people like that.
Oh, yeah.
You and I will be the future down the road. And when, our kids' friends or kids' grow up and want to get into the field, hey, we're just passing along the knowledge that we received from the other people that started in this field before us.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, big shout out to Nighthawk. I mean, he helped me out a lot.
Oh, yes.
On his show and stuff, him and Dennis. Dennis was the first guest.
Yeah, Dennis is another one. I mean, Dennis is just he's an encyclopedia, just like William.
I know.
They know their stuff. And, other guys that are in this community too that really do their research. We've got, Josh Turner, Vic Cundiff. I mean, sorry to put their two names together. I know there was some stuff that happened there, but they're both very knowledgeable. Jeff Nadolny, Dark Waters. And everybody else who's out there, Jody Cook, who's with NADP, he's been researching the Dogman for over 30 years. That's the reason why I joined. I was like, this guy's done his research on these things, so it's just an incredible field to be a part of. And that's what it all comes down to, is investigating cryptids and looking into the unknown.
Right. That's for sure.
Yeah. What did Miriam say? I didn't want to be in one of his Washington State stories. I don't blame you. That's why, Miriam, you should get with Todd. Todd, I think Todd was talking about going and investigating an area up near Washington. I know Washington is the #1 state in the United States that has the most increased sightings of Sasquatch. And then I think California is it's like a distant second place. I mean, Sasquatch are like, let's say 900 encounters to like California's like 650, for example. But
wow.
Miriam's really wanting to see a Dogman. I'm like, hey, they're up there. I want to say it. Right, is it Mount Shasta or Mount Rainier? I think it's Mount Rainier. So I think there's a lot of, and you got to think Washington is such a green state and beautiful, heavily forested. I went there last year to visit my grandfather, and I went on a hike, and the woods are just so green. And unlike California, I mean, we've got deep forests down here. I mean, the Patterson Gimlin film was filmed in Northern California. So we've got Sasquatch here, and we've also have quite a bit of Dogman encounters. It's just people just don't know where to go to relay the information to get a team to get out there and investigate.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And some of these encounters are 5-10 years old. So it's kind of hard to go out and investigate and look for prints or anything, because you got to think about the weather, the rain, the fires, whatever. It's going to, hide that evidence or cover it up over time. So it's just one of those. But yeah, dark waters is straight up. I agree. I told Todd I'd take him around to that'd be perfect, Miriam. Yeah, I know Todd just moved out from Washington from Massachusetts to Washington. I was just on the phone with him the other night, and super great guy. And he's all about the Dogman right now. He's been researching them for about 5 years, and he joined the NADP as a field investigator. And what my whole goal is as a regional director is I'm trying to build teams in each state. It's just hard to find people that either aren't a part of it anymore or that have an interest. And there's a lot of people that want to join, but there's a lot of people that don't want to go out and investigate. You know what I mean? It's kind of, do you want to do the boots on the ground research, or would you rather, do the online research? That's because I look at both forms of research as investigating, especially if it's in your general area. Yeah. And then you can get a team together, because there's paranormal teams and cryptid teams that will go out and research an area. We have just like the NADP, we're the world's largest Dogman organization, just like the BFRO is the largest for Bigfoot, and then MUFON for extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of fact, if that's what you want to do, if you want to go do boots on the ground research or do online researching, it's still the same. I just think online researching is a little safer.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Might get back for sitting in your chair too long, but
the one I think they're really making a big difference is Jesse and Joe at Helmet Holler. They're doing stuff that no one else is doing. I mean, they take all these detectors.
They take the whole 9 yards with them. They are such an incredible team to watch, and how fast they've just grown. As in, 2 years ago, I'd never heard of Hellbent Hauler. Last year, I think it was towards the end of, I want to say the beginning, when I jumped into the cryptid research, I heard about them, and they're really good friends with my buddy Carlito Castro, and I was like, I'm gonna go check that out, and because they had commented on one of his interviews, and I was like, I'm gonna go check them out. Started watching their videos, and holy smoke, man, they take out infrared cameras, and like you said, they do it. They use a lot of their own money, though. They say this isn't cheap. That they take their own equipment out, and other than just taking a cell phone and going and recording in the tree line, they're picking up thermal, infrared. They're taking out. I think they take out Geiger counters too.
They had radiation detectors. Yeah,
because that's what I use for work. I was like, wait, Geiger counter? You're looking for radiation? But no, there's been reports of Sasquatch or the area around them being radioactive. I've heard some crazy reports like that, but. Hey, it's better to have the more tools, the better. Yeah,
I mean, it's awesome that
they put out really good content. I will 100% agree. And they're awesome people too. I know they're super busy, but if you get a hold of Joe and if you have a question, you write him on Facebook. He's even said on their YouTube live that they're like, hey, sometimes I'm not always on Facebook because they're either working or just doing their everyday life, or they're out in the woods investigating. But he gets back to people, and he's such a nice guy, down to earth. So nothing but love for Joe and Jesse.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Carlito, I need to get him on here too.
Yeah, you should.
I told him, I said I like to get him and Abe.
Oh, Abe, yeah, Abe's another good one.
And do a Hispanic, what the Hispanic community's thoughts are on the Dogman and Sasquatch and all that. Because I mean, they got different stuff down in Mexico and stuff that we don't have here.
Yes. And if you look at Abe's research and Carlito's research, Carlito is super knowledgeable in cryptids. He knows his stuff. Whether if you go down even farther rabbit holes, I mean, Nighthawk's talked about it, but the flat Earth theory, Carlitos does his research, and he's very knowledgeable in Dogman, Sasquatch, the Chupacabra, and then Abe Cius, he also does his research. He's on the DDN. I want to say it's disembodied demonic Nephilim, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what
And
it is.
he's
Yeah.
had quite a few encounters. He had a Dogman encounter. I know he was on Vic Cundiff's show. He was also on These Woods Are Haunted, where he had a paranormal attack. You know, like an entity attacked him and his family back in 2007. I think it's 2007. I could be wrong, but yeah, 2007. So great guys, and yeah, definitely you get to see what's other cryptids are out there. There's two forms of the Chupacabra, supposedly. There's the one that's in Texas that looks like a coyote without mange, but then you go down to Puerto Rico, and this thing's got spikes on its back, and it looks more lizard-like in a certain degree. It's just
wow, I never heard of that one. I haven't heard of that one yet.
I think I learned that from either Nighthawk or Carlito. Someone they were talking about it, but the Chupacabras are two different things, and they look totally different in two geographical locations. But yet Puerto Rico's not too far from Texas. I mean, yeah, it's in the Gulf of Mexico, but it still the things are totally different. My opinion on the one in Texas, though, is it's just a coyote with its mange. But you know, it's what you have to almost think of the what ifs. Like you can't just say, "Oh, it's a Chupacabra." You gotta definitely debunk that and think, is it just like a bear with mange? A lot of Sasquatch reports or Dogman reports are bears with no hair that have mange. So
yeah, you know, I've seen a picture. I don't know if it was on YouTube or what it was, and this bear did have mange.
Yeah,
I mean, it looked like it didn't look like a bear at all. You know what I mean? But just with all its hair.
And then they looked ugly. You think a bear would be all cuddly, but they do get mange, and they get it's the thing that you almost, or is it a gugway? I mean, who knows? There's really no proof. The only one photo of the gugway that really is out there is the Beast of Seven Shoots. And that's the most compelling photo of a gugway. The baboon-like face, it's got was it a dog or a baby doe or something in its hand? I think you've seen it. If not, I can send you the photo.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
It's the Beast of Seven Shoots photo, and how they caught that gugway on film. Some people say it's a Dogman, some say it's a Sasquatch. A lot of people say it's gugway, but these guys were out just taking pictures of the forest and near a waterfall, and then I think it was like a year later or a month later they were reviewing it, and they're like, they zoom in and you can see the gugway's like sitting there paused, but it's holding the deer, in its arm.
Yeah. Now, correct me on this because I'm not real sure on it. But don't they call the gugway the face eaters? Is that
the face eaters? Yes, that's what their name means in native. I don't know what nation says. But I know Nighthawk would be able to tell us what.
Yeah, I know Nighthawk would.
But yeah, it is the face. The name does mean face eater.
Yeah, I know. Like Nighthawk explained to me, there was 4 different types of Bigfoot. You know, your Alaskan Bigfoot, which he said they're really mean.
Yeah,
like, they're the violent ones, and then the one that looks more like us, the Indians, the forest people.
Oh, guaranteed. I mean, if you look at the variant charts or just a Sasquatch, I think there's like 13 or 14 different types.
Wow.
And compared to the Dogman, we only have 7, but a lot of them with the Dogman, I'm real skeptical. I think I shared something in the Region 1 page last night, but it's 7 different Dogmen. But I think the top 3 to me are either misidentified Sasquatch or Gugway. Because like the small chow face, I'm thinking that's either going to be a Gugway or it's a werewolf with a human-like, was it the hominid leg structure? I just think the ones that have the digitigrade dog-like legs are the Dogmen, but I could be wrong. This is my opinion on it, though. I'm not saying that this is wrong, but it's just different theories that break down and what people might accept and what they might not. It's just that's what we all just get together and we all just kind of bounce ideas off each other. That's what I love about the community. But you get some people in the field that say you're totally wrong. It's like, well, how can you prove it? Prove it from a scientific aspect. And
I had someone argue with me the other day about Bigfoot. It was a relative.
I had a coworker.
You believe in God, don't you? And he's like, yeah. So can you see him?
I had said the same exact thing to a coworker. Left them dumbfounded. They're like, you believe in Dogman. Like, have you ever seen God? Hundreds of millions of people around the world believe in him, but they've never seen him.
Exactly.
So it comes down, and then that's not making fun of any religion out there, because I'm
No,
a
no.
Christian myself, and I do believe, I do pray, but yeah, it's just you almost have to throw that out there because people are just quick to assume that these things are just not real and you're crazy. It's like no.
Nah. Now she's back there again.
How you doing?
Yeah, she do you know Kyle Conley?
Kyle?
Encrypted
No, I
Connection.
don't. No, I'm
Yeah,
not aware.
I had him on the show.
Oh, is that yes, I think I've watched. He has his own YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
I think I've watched a few of his episodes. The name. I just really interact with people on Facebook,
I
or
know.
when I see their names. But I do watch a lot of YouTube because of the podcast. But
That's
his
like me.
encrypted connections has popped up a couple times, and he's a Bigfoot researcher, isn't he?
Yeah, he goes out and investigate. Like he takes his phone or goes out in the woods
Yeah.
and walks around. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that type of research either. I that's the way I've started. That's how I still do it. I just go now with multiple cell phones on me. So what I do is I take a hiking backpack, clip it across my chest, take my old iPhone 11, put it on my chest and hit the record button. And then I'm sitting there with my other my cell phone, taking pictures and just recording the whole time. And then I've got my camera, my old iPhone taped to my shoulder and it's recording behind me. So I'm trying to get a 360 view on all this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
It's just different types of, Kyle. Like I said, I've only watched his show, I think once or twice, but I've seen him pop up as a suggested watch on YouTube. And the stuff I have seen, I think I saw him on your channel too. When I go through the list, because I was watching the Tom Cardos interview, and like I say, brother, you've got a lot of big names on that have came on, and Krista and Brandy with Blondes and Booze. Those ladies are so awesome and funny.
They are.
They are.
They do.
They're awesome. I know they're a part of Tex Front Porch and Bigfoot Michigan Rob. That's another person you should try to get on is Bigfoot Michigan Rob.
Yeah, I like get him and Tex one. That'd be a good show.
Oh, that would be a really good show.
I still got to watch your interview with Brennan. Is that his?
Brennan Daniels? Oh yeah.
I need to check him out because I haven't had a chance. We're friends on Facebook and stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing about it.
He's new, so.
I'm just like you. There's so many shows that come out on certain at the same exact time, and it's like if I'm not with my family, I try to catch up on them. But when I'm at work, I will watch everyone's shows. Like I said earlier, I was watching Tom Cardos' interview with you. That was yesterday at work, and I'll go jump over, watch one of DA's shows, and then I'll go jump over and I just try to stay busy and try to catch the Blondes and Booze as well. Tex, BMR, Jessica Jones, William Nighthawks. I mean, there's so many people with really good content.
I know.
So it's like I should almost get a calendar and start with, Mondays I'm going to watch these 5 people. Tuesday I'm going to watch these 5. You got to show love for everybody. So,
it's hard to keep up with all of it.
Yeah, it really is. But I think the love and respect and is mutual between everyone's, because I've had people comment on mine and said, "Hey, I'm sorry I missed it." I'm like, "Hey, it's not a big deal. It's on YouTube for a reason. You can go click it and watch it whenever you want if you have
right. Right.
But but Brennan was a good interview, I'll be honest, and he's had multiple sightings from when he was a teenager. Just to kind of sum it up, I won't ruin it for you, but he just now recently became the Region 5 director for the North American Dogman Project. So he's been really busy with what we're trying to roll out. I don't know if I should explain it or not, but what we're doing right now going forward is we're going to be releasing a podcast for the NADP. And then Jody's been wanting to get a newsletter out. And I think Brennan's actually been working on that newsletter. And he's actually interviewing a Dogman eyewitness down in Georgia who's also a police officer. And he's supposed to be releasing that out into this newsletter. I think it's going to hit Tuesday or Wednesday of next week is when I was just talking to him. So I'm pretty stoked about to see all that and what we're going to be able to do. And I don't know what Jody's plans are, if he wants to do these interviews on the NADP podcast once a week or every 2 weeks. I'm not sure what the plan is, but we got a lot of stuff coming for 2023, and it's super awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it and learn.
Yeah, definitely.
There's always something,
Oh, yeah. There's so much things to learn in the cryptid community, whether you're interested in Sasquatch or Dogman or, You know, the one thing that really bugs me is when you get the Sasquatch community people that say the Dogman isn't real. It's like, okay, there's people, these everyday people that don't even believe in cryptids driving down the freeway and they see a bipedal wolf eating on a deer carcass and then carry it into the tree line. I mean, how do you explain that's not real? Is it made up? It could be, but you got to take these people for their word, you know, to some degree. So
if it was just one or two people, maybe.
Yeah,
there's like way more now. There's hundreds now of sightings.
The last time I had heard about the NADPs, I want to say it's like 900.
Wow.
900 encounter. I could be wrong. I'm probably butchering it, but I want to say it was in the high, almost 1,000, but over 500. Just since I think, say 2015. It's something crazy. It's an astronomical number of sightings. But if you guys want to just check out and look at the NADP archives and go look at the encounters map, you see the red dots. It looks like the United States has acne because there's so many red dots, especially on the East Coast and the Appalachian Trail. You just
it's crazy. It's crazy how like they're all bunched together, you know, on the map. It's like a whole bunch of them.
Especially if you go check out Pennsylvania. I mean, the whole map just is littered with red dots. So
that's a hot spot. Yeah.
I don't know why though. It's like, what's so compelling for, you know, is it the terrain? Is it the humidity? There's so many questions I have about like how to think like a dogman almost. It's like, you know, I've heard so many different theories. I've heard that dogmen have a 70-mile radius on hunting. It's like, that sounds crazy. But then I've talked to other researchers, Ricardo Sanchez. He's a really incredible researcher. And he's told me different type of genotypes, that these things are more big, have like big cat genotype to them because they're in the trees. I mean, you don't see dogs climbing trees. You don't see them pouncing on things. It's just so many different things that, and not to say he's wrong or right. It's just so many different theories that it's mind blowing. Interdimensional. Are they interdimensional? Do they cloak? You know, for something that big, and let's say a dogman's on average is 7 to 8 feet, weight can vary anywhere from, let's say, 400 to 500 pounds, if not a little more. But for something to keep that structure, you obviously have to consume a lot if it is flesh and blood. Just like a Sasquatch, they obviously have to, you know, they hunt in packs, they kill lots of deer, and, you know, they have to eat a lot of protein to stay, you know, to keep that physical frame. But if you, just like in the South, compared to in Canada, you look at the Sasquatch up there, they're more hairy. But then you look at the skunk apes down in Florida, and they don't really have a whole lot of hair, I guess. And it's also because of the weather.
Yeah, it's just the climate and their environment. I guess they've grown.
Well, it's also because the colder it is. I was watching DA's show, I think it was about a month ago, and he was saying that he had a guest on, I can't remember who, but they were saying that like with the heat and the humidity down in the South or where it's warmer, that you're not going to have to eat as much to keep that frame or just to keep all that hair, because when you're in the North, your body is constantly trying to stay warm. So you have to eat more calories and, you know, to keep keep your body warm or you die. So I can't remember who that was. I know it was on DA's show. I can't remember who the eyewitness was or the guest was, but I thought that was really, really compelling. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. Just like if the dogmen that live in Maine compared to Georgia, you know, they might have more hair on them up there because it's colder than the dogmen down in Georgia, where they've seen that they have a human-like chest, but then you see that they thick manes and stuff in the North. So there's just so many different ideas on this, brother, that we could probably spend a lifetime talking about different theories and, you know, saying, yeah, that one does kind of make sense until that we actually have science can prove this. And then we have a body and, you know, the government to come out and say these things are real. Then we're just at a brick wall is how I look at it. When the dogman community, we're at a brick wall right now, whether it's pareidolia photos or real, you know, we're 50-50 on it, because till we get footage of these things and like the Patterson Gimlin walking or zigzagging or running off into the trees, we really don't know.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of compelling information out there and footage and photos I've seen that made me a believer, or I wouldn't have jumped into this.
Right.
And just like you, we both have answers that we seek into the unknown. We want to know. So
yeah, you know, you go back to the deer. Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, we're loaded with whitetail deer. I only live like 5 miles from the PA border.
Oh, wow. So you're right on state line then, huh?
Yeah, I'm real close to the state line. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. So I'm pretty sure you went out and investigated for Dogman or Sasquatch alone. I know Pennsylvania is, I think, it's like number 3 or 4 on the map of sightings. There
yeah,
was Daryl Denton had released a video on his Bigfoot Believers and Other Creatures Facebook page, and
uh-huh.
it's like a 2-minute video, and it shows the Sasquatch encounters from let's say 1889, I want to say, but it shows like Michigan had one, and then it does a chronological timeline of all the states in the sightings increasing, and you watch the different states flow through, which are getting more sightings, and all of a sudden you just see Washington just bypass California and Michigan and Pennsylvania, and it's got the most, and then it ends at 2019 with the most, encounters, and it's just wow. It's just that video was just so compelling.
Yeah.
The sightings, and like you said, you live in whitetail country. It's just
Oh
it's an
yeah.
abundance of food source compared to living down in, let's say, I know the Sasquatch and Bigfoot have been seen down in like Arizona and New Mexico, but people would think there's not a whole lot of wildlife out there to sustain these things. But
Yeah.
they're still being seen. But everyone thinks Arizona is just a desert state. But if you go up towards the Mogollon Rim, it's heavily green and forested. It's got
Yeah.
rivers running through it. You would never think that. At least I wouldn't think that in Arizona. And I live in California, and I'm just thinking, I've been to Arizona a few times, and I'm just thinking every time I've driven by, it's always been desert. Like, yeah, a Sasquatch or
Yeah.
a Dogman couldn't live out here, but
Well, I was talking to Tombstone after the show, the night he did the show.
uh-huh.
I got on there and DM'd him and was talking about it. We was talking about the show.
Mm-hmm.
I said, he sent me some pictures of what it is like out there in Australia.
Uh-huh.
I always thought it was dry desert. It was just dry desert.
That's what I always thought.
It's not. It's got like great big forest, great big trees. Like it's
Really?
awesome. Yeah, yeah.
Man, I have to check that out too. And just
Yeah,
go like do it.
I'll message you some of the pictures he sent me.
Yeah, if you could, I'd love to
He,
check that out.
he was showing me this. It's a great big walkway that goes over top of these trees,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, "How high up is that?" And he was like, "Some of them trees are 130 foot tall to the tops."
Wow, down in Australia, huh?
Yeah, it was awesome. I was like,
That
and he
is
showed me,
incredible.
and he sent me a picture of about where he grew up at, and
Uh-huh.
it just looks like here in West Virginia. You got grass, you got trees, lush green. You know what I mean? I always thought it was all it was just all desert, like you said, Arizona.
Yeah, like
I didn't know
Arizona.
Arizona had woods and stuff like that
Oh
there. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
And actually, my good buddy Ryan Tremblay, he was doing an interview one night. I want to say it could have been with DA or it was somebody else. It could have been, but I had asked him like, "Well, isn't Arizona just like all flat and deserty? It's just like what you would think it with Australia." And he's like, "No, it really isn't." So I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, interesting." And then driving through it just recently, I think we were there. I had to go to Colorado for work, but anyways, we were driving through, and most of the time when I was driving, I just it looked like desert. So it's like, but then there were certain parts that Ryan had described. And I guess the up where he was telling about the Mogollon Rim, they have the Mogollon Monster, and that's a Sasquatch out there. So it's been seen several times. It's thick and very forested in that area. But just like in
yeah,
California, we've got it all out here. We've got desert, we've got ocean, we've got big city life, and then we got the forest. And where I'm centered at, I'm in the dead heart center of California, more towards Southern California, I guess you'd say. But it's like if I want to go to the beach, I'm only 2 hours away. If I want to go to LA, I'm 2 hours away. Go to the desert, 2 hours away. Go to the forest, 2 hours away. So it's
oh
like
wow,
perfect. So yeah, I'm like in the dead center. And it's like California's politics aside and all the other stuff, it's actually not that bad of a state. It's actually really beautiful.
yeah. I know. Brown Dwarf put a he does this thing on YouTube
Oh yeah, he does the
or
Bigfoot
Full
stuff.
Shore.
Yeah.
Well, he posted a picture the other day of the mountains. I think it was the Sierra Mountains. I think.
Yeah, that's
Don't get me
here,
wrong, and
Nevada.
there was snow on them in the background. And I
Yeah.
was like, that is a cool picture. I mean,
Yeah, I think Brown Dwarf's up in Northern California. I think I talked to him, I think, through the comments on DA's show, and I think he's like right on the Oregon, Northern California border. I want to say up by Jedediah and the National Redwoods and all that. So, and yeah, he's got really incredible evidence and another great investigator into the cryptid community. He's got a lot of good stuff on YouTube as well.
yeah, he does. Sorry, Ivy. Uh,
Brother?
yeah, Brown Dwarf. He's got some pretty interesting stuff. The forests look beautiful up there, like the
Oh
big
yeah. Like I
trees
say,
and
yeah, California. That's what's just so people are like, you have that? And it's like I could just drive 2 hours into the. We have the Sequoia National Forest down where I'm at, but the farther north you go to California, you get into the redwoods, and then that's about 3 hours from me. I think is where we hit the redwoods, Eastern California towards the Nevada border. But if you go, it takes you all the way up to Tahoe. It's beautiful. The trees we have some trees that are over 300-400 feet out here in California, and then the redwoods. Some they date back 30,000 years in age when they cut them down and count the
oh
rings,
my
I think. Yeah.
man, that's a big tree.
Yeah, that's a big tree. I want to say it was 300 to 400 feet. I could be wrong, but I know it's a couple hundred feet at least.
That's got to be like that's got to be Sasquatch country. I mean,
Oh, it is.
it's just
Oh,
got
yeah.
that look.
Yeah. I mean, so where Patterson Gimlin was filmed, I want to say it was 2 hours. I want to say, I don't know the exact location. I just know Northern California, but I want to say it's above Lake Tahoe. It might have been even farther than that. It was deep up there. But yeah, and then we've had some Dogman encounters over down in the LA area, which I've really thought was what that's big, heavy residence. There's like 40 million people in the state of California, 8 million to 9 million alone live in the LA area. So it's like, why would these Dogmen want to be trying to be seen creeping into LA? But hey, but it comes down to food at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
one of the things that gets me sticking to the Dogman for real quick is that the immigrants that are coming over and they're missing. And you hear about these border patrol that are talking about seeing these dogmen like the hyena variant. And then they go to try to report it. And then get their pink slips at the end of the day saying, hey, you're going to try to talk about it. You didn't see nothing. They're being hushed about it along the border.
Oh man, that's crazy. I never heard that one. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's crazy.
There's some really good stuff I could send you that I've read in on. And I'm just like, well, that can make sense. I mean, people, the border patrol being shut down on silence and it's saying, hey, you can't talk about this. I've heard one encounter, I think it was on Dark Waters, where the guy had got his pink slip because he was going to try to talk about it. But the guy told him, no, okay, I'll say hush, hush. Well, at the end of his shift, his superior officer or, lieutenant had came out and just gave him his last check and said, you're done. So it's like,
that's messed up, man. That's messed up.
It's really, and that's the thing with Dogman, just like Sasquatch, the ones that look like Patty, or we're obviously seen in Northern California, but then they've also been seen in Maine, Pennsylvania, looking like the same thing. I don't believe these things migrate, but I do believe there's different variants and different breeds of these things. Just like there's we've had hyena variant dogmen being seen in California, Arizona, but then they've also been seen in Pennsylvania, down to Alabama even. So just different variants have been seen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's that way with the Bigfoot and stuff too. There's just different variants of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing at the end of the day. And the field is just, I believe there's actually been an increase in interest in joining the cryptid community. A lot of people now, like you and I, we're talking Sasquatch. If we were on the internet 20 years ago, we would have been crucified for this.
Oh yeah.
Dogmen. People say werewolves aren't real. Humanoid creatures are not real, but there's obviously an interest in the government releasing a little bit more information, like we were talking about earlier, on the declassified information on UFOs or the UAPs, and it's just, are we getting close to disclosure? I don't know. That's what gets me. That's why I just keep trying to dive into all different avenues, and I'm mainly a Dogman investigator and researcher. That's my main interest, but hey, if you got a good, Sasquatch encounter or story, I want to hear it too. So I'll go listen to it. I still listen to it.
Yeah.
I don't shun away from one cryptid and say, hey, it's only Dogman. My main interest is Dogman, but just like how you love Sasquatch,
I'm interested in all of it. I really am.
Yeah. And I'm glad you jumped in, man. You jumped in at the right time. I mean, the cryptid community is always going to have the naysayers and the people are going to say, oh, this isn't real, and there's going to be different things that happen, but at the end of the day, if we can all just come together as a community and just research these things and just help bounce ideas, we'd go so much farther. But what I've noticed, it seems like one step forward, 2 steps back, but then sometimes you'll go 3 steps forward and then just keep going. You never know. That's why I always try to stay out of all the stuff, and I just focus on research and be friends with everyone and help other people grow and bounce ideas of what I've heard and what I've learned. Like people like you know, that just started up. You've been a Bigfoot guy. Hey, Chris, what have you learned? I want to know a little bit about that. Hey, I'll hit you up. That's what I do with my California state representative for the NADP. I just talked to him on the phone last night for about 2 hours, and he started off as a Bigfoot guy, and he also learned a lot about the Dogman. And when I started a year ago, he kind of just really bounced idea. Dev Rooney actually gave me his contact information, and I called him, and man, we were like the two best of friends. And he's just like, man, you've got to learn so much in a year. And I'm like, because I meet good people like you that will share that, you know, information on what you've learned.
Yeah.
And about different cryptids.
Yeah, that's like, you know, I talked to you. You know, I know you're the Dogman guy. And...
Oh, let's see. I don't know. I don't know a Dogman. I'm a Dogman enthusiast. But
yeah, that's what I meant. You know, I mean,
I'm not no Dogman expert, brother. I would never be an expert. Even if the first time that someone claims that they're an expert, that's what I totally just say, dude, you're full of, you know, you're BS, and there is no experts in these fields. I believe there's very knowledgeable people in the field because of how many years they put into the research, you know, and whether it's Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Dogman even or Mothman, it's just those people. Like M.K. Davis is a really knowledgeable person. Jeffrey Meldrum, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, you know, the Sasquatch community. These guys have done their research for years on these things, and you know, just because they have a degree doesn't make them automatically an expert. But they've analyzed this stuff, and there is way more evidence in the Bigfoot community than the Dogman. But people like Jody Cook that have done their research for over 30 years on the Dogman. Obviously, I mean, you know, I'm going to, being a newbie, I'm going to listen to what he has, and then I'm going to listen to somebody else that's just as knowledgeable and just absorb all the different theories and just what they think on it. And it's just that's the only way we can go and grow as a community.
Yeah, we got a question here. Janelle said, you might be able to answer this. Are people still seeing Dogman and Joshua Tree and north of San Diego in the hills?
You know, I haven't really heard too much. I do know of the one guy that went on the on this Vic Cundiff show, and he talked about the Joshua Tree National Park. And you know, I don't know how long ago that was when that episode happened, but the brief detail was he was driving at like 2:30 in the morning down the road, going like 15 miles per hour, just cruising. And I think he saw a blue portal open up, and it was in the desert. And I mean, east, sorry. East. The Joshua Tree, yeah, but the portal opened up, and these dogmen wearing like uniforms came running out in formation. It was the dude thought he's like, I wasn't hallucinating or on any type of drug. He just said it was the weirdest thing. And then Northern California or Northern San Diego, I'm not too sure of that one. I just posted up on West Coast Dogman project the other day and the Region 1 page about Southern California encounters. And I want to say it was up near Riverside, or it is Southern California. But yeah, Janelle, that there's been sightings. I just don't know how recent they are. But as the Region 1 director for the NADP, I'm hoping we'll get more encounters, or people will be more open to send them to us so we can put it into our database. And if it's recent, I can get a team down there, myself, including a few other people, and get out there and investigate, look for the physical evidence, the claw marks, the bedded down grass, or a carcass, or it's just some type of thing that will say, hey, this could have been a Dogman. That's really what we're trying to do. And like how Nick Valente builds his team, he goes out with nothing less than 7 people. That's what I'm trying to do right now, is only have, because you want to cover your 6, you want to be covered on all 4 corners, you know, 360 around, just in case if there is a Dogman. These things are territorial, and they've been known to attack people. So yeah, you definitely want to go out and with a team, a heavily armed team too, and also have, you know, the equipment you need, because you're not going to run into your Dogman every single time. You're more going to run into a mountain lion or a bear. You got to think of the real animals that are a threat. And the thing is, like with my wife and I do go packing when I go hiking deep in the woods, because the area I go is a real big Sasquatch area, but there's been Dogman encounters. But we go in, just the 2 of us, but we are totally armed, and we just go in with what we need. The bear spray, you know, carrying a knife, a gun. That's just a 9mm isn't going to stop a Sasquatch or your typical Dogman. You're going to just more likely piss it off. But you go just for that black bear, at least you can at least empty a couple rounds in it and maybe get that mountain lion to run away. But at
Yeah.
the same time, every time I go into the woods, I always know. William Nighthawk taught me this, that I'm going to start doing when I get out into the field a little bit more after football season. Is you take your shoes off and you go barefoot into the trees and you connect with Mother Earth and you say a prayer, and just kind of. I just thought when Nighthawk told us about that, I was like, I'm going to try that and ask for protection and stuff. But because when we're just trotting into the tree line and going and looking for the Sasquatch and the Dogman, we're invading on their turf. It would be like if Chris just walked into your house right now and went and laid in your bed. What are you going to do? You're going to throw that guy out of your freaking house?
No doubt. Yeah, right.
So that we're invading in their turf. And that's the thing. You got to be respectful of the woods. And there's so many different things. But when my wife and I do go out, we do go protected. When I was just a field investigator at the time, I would let my Region 1 director know, saying, hey, I'm going to be at this location off this road from this time to this time. If you don't hear from me tonight, then please, send out a SOS or something and get a team, because I highly recommend everyone get those Garmin's, but they're so dang expensive. They're like $500. Right now, Christmas just got over, so I don't have the money for one of those things. So the best thing I have is my cell phone.
That's it. That's for sure.
It really is.
Well, I agree. I always, anywhere I go in the woods, I always carry a gun. Just like
and like Miriam said, 9mm a pea shooter. Yeah, but it's something.
It's something, yes. And you gotta watch out for people too, not just animals. That's the thing.
Well, the big thing we got to worry about out here in California is not to drift away from the cryptid field, but it's the real life stuff. Is if you go deep into these woods, trekking in 4 or 5 miles, and you run into people, it's because they're probably either growing illegal marijuana and you're running into their field. They're thinking you're probably a forest ranger. So you might have a shotgun or an AK-47 held up to you and say, what are you doing here? These people are grown illegally. So we have to worry about that too, not just Sasquatch and Dogman. We got to worry about, the mafia or the cartels or whoever, these people that are just growing, the gangs that are growing, illegal marijuana.
Yeah.
It's not just in California. It's Colorado. It's in a lot of places too.
Oh, so. Yeah. It's just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Oh, Oceanside area, Camp Pendleton. Young one coming in. Oh, yeah. I haven't heard that one, Janelle. I would love to hear that. If you could send me the link, or if you could post it onto the West Coast page, I'd love to check that out. I don't.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing right now. Is we don't get a whole lot of sightings of Dogmen, like I was saying earlier, as of right now. In the West, especially California and stuff. Occasionally you'll get one thing here and there, but my whole goal is to try to circulate and investigate all this stuff and try to bring the phenomenon to the West a little bit, because all the Dogman sightings are on the East. But I want to be that guy that kind of just has the information to be able to say, hey, let's get a team out here, and this is what we were able to find, make a documentary on it and turn it into a 5 to 10 minute clip and then post it and say, hey, this is what we found, or it turned out to be not a Dogman. So definitely try to get the interest out here and the phenomenon going. It's my main goal, but
a lot of people's reluctant to talk. That's a lot of it, I think.
That's true.
There's probably more out there than what you think is. It's just people ain't coming forward with their stories.
And that's what my main goal in this community, being a part of it, is just to spread awareness too. I might get laughed at by 100,000 people, but hey, if there's 12 people out of that 100,000 that say, hey man, I think I've seen something. Just one person alone, hey, I did what I'm seeking out to do. And they say, hey, I think I saw something like that, and that's what I think we're all in it for, is to spread awareness and learn.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Oh, good old story from Vic. I subbed. Okay, thank you. But yeah, if you can, if it's a Vic Cundiff story, I might have maybe came across it. I've listened to a majority of his stuff, and a lot of his earlier stuff is like mind blowing, Chris. If you weren't a Dogman believer, because I've had a couple people that have been in the Region 1 pages that have been polite, but saying they don't believe in Dogman. They're just like, hey, there's just no physical evidence. And me being a respectful person back to them, guys, I'm not one to say, hey, you're wrong. Dogman exists. But it's like, hey, I'm like, you're right. There really isn't a whole lot of physical evidence of these things. And, but a lot of the good stuff from Vic, though, is is his earlier stuff, and he still puts out good content. And I
Yeah.
think I'd say out of 450 episodes, I think he has, I've probably listened to 200 of them. There's
I'm
still
I'm
a bunch.
I'm gonna have to go listen to him because that's a new name for me. So
Oh, you haven't heard of Vic Cundiff?
no, I'm gonna
Oh,
have to go
brother,
check that out.
you got to check his stuff out. Vic, if you could put people's viewpoints on Vic away and Jeff Nadolny's viewpoints and just be a entertainer and just listen to the ideas and different theories, Jeff Nadolny and Vic Cundiff put out some of the best Dogman content out there. And
Yeah.
that's not picking sides or, guys, I've heard both from other people that say their dislikes about both. But
Oh
at the
yeah.
same time, they're still putting out Dogman content, whether it's real or not. It's for the viewer. And then they also have eyewitnesses that come on and talk about it. Dark Waters is another one that's really knowledgeable. Check him
Yeah,
out.
I've listened to him a couple times. He does have
Oh,
some pretty good stuff on there.
okay, so yeah, if you know James, then yeah, he's got really good stuff. And there's so many other people out there that put out good content. It's just to try to name them all. I'm just naming off the ones that I think to me are the OGs. The Dark
Yeah.
Waters and the Vic Cundiffs, the ones that really started this. Will start circulating it. To me, I think the people that have been in the field, like Jody Cook's been in the field for dang near almost 40 years, I want to say. And not into the Dogman, but he was a Bigfoot and UFO guy before. But
Yeah.
with the Dogman, like the Linda Godfrey was, reporting on the Beast of Bray Road, wasn't it, in the early 80s or late 80s?
Yeah, she's like she knew her stuff.
Yeah, she did. But she did a research on it too. And, people were going towards Elkhorn, Wisconsin and trying to look for the Beast of Bray Road. And it brought a lot of tourism to the area. And it's just like a lot of the locals are like, get off my property. I don't want you weirdos parked along the side of the road waiting for this Dogman to come out through the corn. This wasn't going to happen. But I do believe that the phenomenon did die down a little bit till the early mid 2000s. I mean, I don't know. There's so much. But I know Linda Godfrey's like instead of Godfather, she's like the godmother of the Dogman community.
Yeah.
And may she rest in peace because she passed away last year.
I remember that when.
Yeah. I never got to. I've talked to Dennis. Dennis had commented on one of the pages. I just recently bought a book from her, and Dennis had talked to her many times and said she was just the sweetest lady. And it's awesome to hear that from other people that can give you a little insight on how these people are and how they were, in her case. And then I know Josh Turner's talked highly of her too.
Yeah. Well, everybody I've ever heard talk pretty highly of her.
Yeah.
That's
my wife. My wife said great.
Yeah, interview. I was going to say yes. Another person that I watched on Tom's show, Tom Cardis, was Paul. I don't know. I forget his last name. The Kentucky
Paul Chafin.
Vicar. Oh my God, he showed track. He had the tracks, that he had took prints of and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's the guy who made me a believer, Chris. I was going to tell you.
Oh man.
Paul's got the most compelling stuff, and that's what, like I said, he's not in this for the likes. He doesn't care if you say it's pareidolia. You can join his page and you say, oh, if you're going to start an argument over him, he just goes and boots you. He's like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm sharing the research I find, what I see through my own two eyes. And he says, it's not Dogman. He just says, hey, look, check this out. And man, he's got those tracks out of Kentucky. And Paul's the guy that made me a believer 100%. And I'm like, hey, I know there's something out there other than just Sasquatch.
Yeah, I mean, them tracks he got, I was like, holy crap. I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then he had some of the pictures on there, too, that he's took.
But you almost have to use either go on his Facebook page and use your on a computer or your cell phone and just zoom in, because when Tom popped him up on the interview, I was watching through my phone. I had to pause it, and when I got home, I had to continue it, but I had to get on my laptop to watch it. But I was like, I've seen these photos, so I went to the Kentucky Dogman Project page, and I was like, that's that photo, and I zoomed in, and I'm like, what do you know? Paul posts up the best stuff out there. It's one of the best. Paul doesn't claim to try to be this great person, to be the number one person. He's just sharing, just a good old country boy, just wanting to share what he finds. And it's up to you to believe.
I like his attitude. He just don't care whether you believe him or not. You know what I mean? He just straight up with it.
He don't care if you like him. He don't care if you don't like him. He don't care if you agree with him or disagree with him. If you disagree with him and want to start, like I said, a war, he just says, hey, he's not in this for the likes or the viewerships. But, Paul's been on Vic Cundiff's show. He's been on Jeff Nadolny's, and he's been on a lot of many podcasters. I think when he went on with Tom, I think that was the second time. And, yeah, Paul's just, he's an incredible guy. And like I say, I have always look up to him as, the person that made me a believer. And there's so many other people I've met that have, were really compelling too, but that's the first person I came across. And that's what makes me want to do what he does out on the West Coast.
Yeah. Squatch in Mount Mama said, I have been told that I have both on my land, and I just try to be respectful as I want to be treated. I treat others.
I agree with Squatch and Mountain Mamas. That is totally true. That's what you want, is to respect these things. And I almost feel like the Sasquatch almost at the same time would respect you. Dogman, I've heard many different theories on them. I know that they're very territorial, but I also heard they like to use us as their entertainment, like some weird, like sickening, demonic thing that they'll like pop their head through the window and they want to see you, scream hysterically and yell. And it's like, I've heard from many researchers though that say they like to use us as entertainment. So, or they'll go sit on a tree line and they just observe, Paul Chafin told me this one is that if there's a park and there's little kids playing around and there's a heavy tree line, that these things have been seen to be just sitting in the tree line, just observing, like using humans as entertainment, just studying us. And another thing you probably know, being a Bigfoot guy, is Sasquatch are attracted to blondes and redheads.
Yeah.
That's a theory I've heard, and I'm like, well, my wife's a blonde. Maybe I just might get a Sasquatch. I might use her as bait.
Yeah, I mean, it's
baiting the wife.
Right?
Sorry, Lisa. We're going swatching.
Right?
Yeah, there's another thing. I'm not coining the name. I never said I made it up, but I had made something for the NADP page. And I've always heard a lot of Sasquatch people say is, hey, we're going out squatching, and like, it got me into wanting to make a t-shirt. And I think I might've made a blueprint. I posted it on the Region 1 page. It's got the NADP's logo. It's got this howling Dogman, and it's sitting in front, and its arms are kind of spread out. And I just coined the term with hashtag or the parentheses. It says dogging, kind of like squatching, but dogging. Going out dogging for Dogman. I'm not saying I made that up, but I just thought, hey, we need one for the Dogman community. We're out dogging for Dogman, so I just thought it would be pretty cool, but.
Janelle said the government created the bad ones.
I agree. I do believe in that keeping that theory open of that these things. I've heard so many reports that these things were genetically modified and they were used in the Vietnam War and in certain wars. And when they've done their mission or if the war is over, that they bring them back and they've released them out into the national parks and they monitor them that way. As crazy and tinfoil as that is, Janelle, I've heard that. And I'm not the only one that's heard it. Multiple people have heard the same thing. I mean, and then when these attacks happen in the national parks, if you ever noticed, like I think it was a national park in Colorado, I want to say a year or two ago, that was shut down for like a week or two. And people were like, why did they shut down the national park? Well, all of a sudden helicopters are flying overboard. And what I heard was this three-letter agency went in there and eliminated the threat. And then they opened up the national park right after. So I do believe these things, if they want to get a little, try human flesh, they attack. Well, then that's when they have to shut them down, and the three-letter agencies monitor these things and take them out. But yeah, they've been used during war from what I hear. And people are saying, oh, dogmen are a new thing. No, these things don't exist. If you go back and recorded history, St. Christopher talks about the dog-headed creatures. Christopher Columbus, the Egyptians all have dog-headed creatures in their history. You go to the First Nations people, the name from the Lakota named the dogmen the Ulanga Duglala, just like they have the name for the Sasquatch, the Chiatonka. So, these things have been in. That's my big thing as I'm really trying to work on, but I'm having no success, is trying to get with the local native tribes and learn their history, but they don't want to talk. So it's like, I called up this tribe and they just got straight to voicemail, left a voicemail, never got a phone call back.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people say that they've tried to talk to the Native American tribes, and they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. And the only people, there's really a rare few, like William Nighthawk is the only one. And when I created a Skinwalker page under the West Coast name, I asked him to join and help me out. And he's like, whoa. That's something that, I'm like, hey, William, I'm not trying to, spread any false information on this thing. I just wanted to bring awareness to these things, that these things are out there. I mean, if you look at where Skinwalker Ranch is at, the Utes had cursed that land, or what? There was like 2 tribes that were fighting for years for that area. And I want to say it was the Utes that cursed it. And that's where you're seeing these skinwalkers and just the weird anomalies that happened in that area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's out in Utah, if I ain't mistaken.
Yeah. Well, hell, we're in an hour and a half.
Oh, wow. That went by quick, brother.
I know.
I had fun, man. I don't even feel like it's an interview. It's just 2 good old friends just talking and bouncing ideas and talking.
That's why I like doing this. Yeah, we're just having a conversation.
And you do such an awesome job at it too, Chris. You're natural at this. I've watched, like I said, I've watched a couple of your episodes. Your one with Tom and with the Blondes and Booze, and man, it's good stuff you're doing, man. I'd love to have you come on my show, and maybe we can get together and just do something and just talk just like this if you'd like.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, anytime.
Okay, well, sounds good, brother. Like I said, I'm truly honored, and it's a pleasure to be on your show, and I thank you again.
Well, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Okay. You guys can get a hold of me on Facebook. I'm the Region 1 Director for the NADP. You can find my Facebook page there, or you can find me on West Coast Dogman Project, or under our 6 other names. If you want to go that route, I can name them all. Or you can also find me on YouTube at West Coast Dogman Project, where I interview dogman eyewitnesses. So, and like I say, if you could like, share, subscribe, and join our channel, and then if you can go join our Facebook page, and like I say, we're just trying to spread awareness of all these cryptids and get the word out there into the unknown.
Okie dokie. Well, everybody, that's a wrap for tonight. Thanks for joining our show and listening to us. Thanks a lot, Shane, for being here.
No problem, brother. You have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, well, see y'all later.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks.
Bye.